Hey, how's it going, guys? It's been a while since I did one of these, so I figured let's do another toy haul. I was holding off for a long time because of this guy right here, so we're gonna jump right into him when I get started, but we got a lot of stuff this time. We got turtles, not a ton of turtles, but there's a ton of turtles coming on the way with Haulathon starting. We got some turtles, we've got a ton of Masters of the Universe, we got a little bit of Sonic, we got a few things here and there that are unrelated, so let's jump right in. So, yes, before I talk about anything else, the first thing I want to talk about is the Fury Planet Wilderness Hunter Crocker figure. Now, this isn't Leatherhead, but it's basically Leatherhead. I got it because it's Leatherhead, but you know, it's a third-party figure, so they can't, you know, just legally call it Leatherhead, so it's their own character, the Crocker or whatever. I've wanted this guy so badly since they first showed him off last year, and it's probably obvious if you've watched the video I did on my hypothetical dream TMNT movie series. Anytime I needed to reference Leatherhead, how he should look in the movie, I used images of this figure as what he should look like, because honestly, this guy is gigantic. Like, he is completely massive. He's one of the just all-around, like, he's not the tallest, but he's one of the all-around biggest, bulkiest figures I own. He might be one of the biggest figures I own. And he scales perfectly with the NECA movie turtles, though, and he fits right in with them. Like, if you stand them next to him, he's way bigger than them, but he's like the size he should be. Because I would picture Leatherhead being, you know, even considerably bigger and bulkier than Toka and Braz are if he was in a live-action movie, because, you know, he's a gator, he's huge, so I think this is perfect. I love him being this big. I think he fits right in with the live-action NECA line, and that's exactly where I put him on the shelf. I put him right by Razar and Toka. As I think I've said before, I would love to get more of these that are kind of like, you know, maybe Bebop and Rocksteady, kind of like unofficial Bebop and Rocksteady, you know, not really them, but I would love to have a bunch of figures that's like, this is how they would look in live action if they were ever in like a serious live action film. So I can just put them with the NECA figures, because, you know, we don't have a movie Leatherhead, we don't have a movie Bebop and Rocksteady, you know, not counting the new animated ones that are coming out, but like talking about like in the style of the 1990 movie, and obviously there would never be an animatronic suit that looked this good in the 1990 series of movies, or ever really. This looks so good, but this is exactly what I want. I'm just gonna say it right now, this is the best Leatherhead figure ever made. If this had arrived, because I pre-ordered this from Big Bad Toy Store, and everyone else seemed to get their pre-orders back around like September of 2022. I didn't get mine until now. So it took a while. If I had gotten this guy last year, even though he's not officially TMNT, he would have got Best TMNT Figure of the Year probably. Because this figure, like, every ounce of him just has so much paint, so much detail, so much texture, so much dry brushing and just deco to just bring out all of the sculpted details in him. He looks amazing. Like, his face just looks like a real alligator, down to like every scales coloration. And, you know, I love the Super 7 one. It's a great homage to the classic figure. It's a great improvement of the classic figure. But as far as just redesigning Leatherhead from the ground up to make him the coolest looking character he possibly can be, this is it. This is that figure. You know, this is the coolest version of Leatherhead that has ever been made. I don't know how much it's coming across in the video, how badass he is, but he's amazing. He is heavy as hell. If you really hate someone and you own this figure, just throw it at their head, they'll probably die. He's amazing. He's so good. My only problem I will say I had with him, which isn't a problem, but the joints are incredibly, not so much the joints, the sockets are incredibly tight on this guy. Because he comes in the package with his head tilted the other way. He comes with 3 necks. One's facing forward, one to the left, and one to the right, which is a very clever way of getting him the ability to do very dynamic neck turns without it screwing up the sculpt too much. I think it's actually a really good idea. I appreciate they did that. But not only was it really hard to get that first neck off, getting his head back on was like impossible. I ripped my fingers up so much, because this guy's a spike ball. This guy's a freaking mace. So when you're holding him and trying to get that in, you're just ripping your hands to hell. And I tried so hard, I still don't think it's actually on there properly. I don't think it's on all the way. I think if you hit him hard enough, his head would just drop off. The tail was the same way. The tail was really, really hard to get on. The style pose hand I put on him, where he's kind of like, you know, open hand like that. He came with 2 trigger hands in the box. That was really hard to get on. They pop off really easily, but getting them on was really tough. So I will say, just you know, that's just a word of caution to anyone who gets this guy. Be careful putting the joints on. It's gonna be tough. You definitely want to heat them up before you do that. This is actually very similar to how Leatherhead has looked in some adaptations, like body build wise, like kind of like the 2012 series, kind of like the IDW comics. But it's a very unique Leatherhead figure. We've really never gotten a look like this for him. I know it's not Leatherhead, but you know. Where, you know, the Playmates Classic one and the Super 7 one, they're very much like an alligator. Like, he has a humongous head and he has really short limbs. Then the cartoon show one is much more like a human body that NECA made. Where in the show, I think he was a bit more gator-like. In the NECA toy, he just has like a human man body. Well, this one's the complete opposite of the Super 7 and Playmates version. He has a pretty tiny head, actually, in comparison to his body. And he has a gorilla build. His arms are so big, his arms are humongous, that he looks more like an ape monster in the build than he does an actual alligator. But it looks so cool. Because, I mean, essentially he is. I mean, all anthropomorphic animals, I guess, are a cross of an animal and a different animal and a primate, or if it is an ape, then it's an ape and a human. But, you know, it's like essentially turning a reptile into a half primate. So it works. It's really cool looking. He just looks so menacing. He has an articulated jaw. He has a ton of articulation. I will say his tail is articulated in segments, but it doesn't move that much. But the rest of his articulation is really good. You can get a ton of posing out of this guy. And since he's so armored and stuff and so detailed, I don't think that the creases and everything and the joints break up the sculpt at all. I think he looks amazing. He looks so good. I can't sing enough praises about this guy. If this guy had cost $300, he would have been worth it, and he didn't cost that at all. So, just awesome figure. Yeah, I know you can switch him into the look to look like Killer Croc, kind of, but I prefer Leatherhead. You know, I love Batman, but I'm a Turtles fanatic, so Leatherhead all the way for me. So also for Ninja Turtles, real quick, I'm just going to cover, I got a few more of the Best Action Loyal Subjects figures. One of them was from the same friend. He had sent me a second package which contained the Casey Jones. And I also picked up Bebop at GameStop, who for some reason seem to keep popping up at GameStops near me. They're pretty good. They're, you know, you get what you're paying for there. They're $20 figures, but they're damn good for what they are, and they're a really good deal. I think if someone doesn't really want to, you know, put in as much money as they are demanding from Super 7 and NECA and stuff, but they want to collect a vintage-inspired toy line by about the Turtles, I would say go for the Loyal Subjects. It's pretty easy to collect. There's been the Turtles in Disguise variants where, like, you know, they're dressed in like their rapper outfits from the, what was it, the second episode of the show, I think? Or maybe the third episode, I don't remember. It was in the first season of the show. And they've been everywhere at Walmarts and Targets. I see that at Target all the time, even the Chase variants and stuff. So if you want to collect that line, that's a very easy, reasonable line to collect, honestly. And people aren't going as, you know, ape for it as they are for like NECA's animated line or something. So they're a lot easier to get a hold of. I know they have a ton of ones coming out. Like, I've seen in hand Krang in the Bubble Walker, and he looks really good, actually. He's way too big. The scaling on these figures suck. I will say that. The Turtles are like taller than Shredder. But the actual figure, he looks really good. It's kind of like the best version of Krang in the Walker we've really ever had in an action figure, possibly. Actually, well, Super 7 is the best, but it's better than the NECA Toon Krang in the Walker, I guess I'll say. It's the best Toon-inspired Bubble Walker Krang. But we also have Rocksteady coming, and we have Slash, and the android body for Krang. We have April, who actually looks really good. Usually April figures suck, but I have to say their April looks pretty good, especially for $20. So I'm definitely going to be picking up more of those. I don't think I'm going to be getting like the Rapper Turtles, even though they do look really fun and they're so abundant. It's just, that's just too much more for me to collect. So I am going to pass on those. But yeah, Loyal Subjects has been pretty awesome. It's a pretty awesome toy line. And thanks again to Jake for gifting me all that stuff back in December. That was crazy how much he gave me. And I love all of it. So there was also other stuff I've gotten that I'm not going to put in this video because I covered it in my top 10 TMNT video, toy video of 2022. And I already basically, said everything that needs to be said about those. So Archie Slash, awesome. I got that. That's really cool. That was a while ago I got that. A long time ago, a couple months ago, Eric, he sent me the Last Ronin Playmates figure, which is freaking awesome. It's the best thing Playmates has done in so long. That's what I want them to be doing. So I got a lot of gifts in December. Thanks everybody for all the gifts they gave me. So I've already talked about all those, on the podcast plenty of times and in my top 10 of 2022 video, so I'm not going to cover those. Now we're going to move on to, I'll just do Sonic real quick, I guess, and then we'll go into MOTU. So as I said in the last video, I was pretty hyped for the new wave of Sonic figures, mostly because I said I really wanted Chaos, and, Chaos was the villain from Sonic Adventure, the first Dreamcast game, the first big 3D Sonic Adventure game. And I really wanted him because he's a cool design. He's always been a really creative character. The fact he's made out of liquid and called Chaos. It's the most chaotic substance is liquid because it's just ever changing. It's unpredictable. It's random. So he's a really cool idea for a character. He just looks cool and menacing. And I really wanted this figure, and especially when I thought, it's got to be translucent plastic, and it is all sculpted in translucent plastic. I will say, though, he's not quite as cool as I thought he was going to be. He's damn cool. I do like him a lot, but he's not quite my favorite figure in the line yet. He's one of them. He's probably in my top 5 for the Jakks-specific Sonic figures, but I wouldn't say he's in number 1 at all. For one, I guess I never really paid attention to the fact that his midsection is essentially he's just a stick figure. You see those big hands, those big feet, those big fins on the back of his head and his cool looking face and all, and you just think there's so much going on. But aside from his hands, feet, and head, the rest of him's basically just a stick figure. And he has this weird little knob on his butt that doesn't really look like a tail, it looks like a hemorrhoid or something, but he's not the most interesting figure beyond that, but he is awesome. He's still very cool, and he looks spot on how he should look. The only big problem I have with Chaos is, where's his brain? I was really hoping, in here, in this little cone on his head, whatever the hell that is, there's supposed to be a floating brain with a brain stem hanging out of it. It's a weird looking brain. It doesn't look like a normal brain. It looks like a tulip or something, but he's supposed to have a brain inside of him. And I get that would have been hard to sculpt that into this figure, especially for a $10 figure. But I do kind of feel like maybe they should have seen if they could do something to get it in there. Because they can throw that kind of stuff in bouncy balls you get in freaking quarter machines in grocery stores. I don't see why they couldn't just put a brain in there. I don't know how it works. Maybe it's really difficult, but I would have loved to see a brain floating in there. I don't know if it was actually a toy limitation. I haven't really looked at his artwork from Sonic Forces. I try to avoid Sonic Forces at all costs after playing it. But I think he still had the brain in that game. I'm pretty positive he still had the brain floating in there. I feel aside from that, he's just a blue shape. So, you need some detail. I think the brain is, his most identifying feature. Everyone notices that right away, that this thing has a brain floating in him. So I don't know if they removed that in the whole canon now, and now he doesn't have the brain. Maybe they felt too violent, that there was a brain with a ripped brain stem hanging underneath him or hanging underneath it or something. I don't know. I hope not, because that was such a cool feature of him. I hope it's just a limitation of the toy, that like they couldn't do it for a $10 price range. So, yeah, I just wish he had the brain. And obviously this is like his first form. This is his tiny form. I pictured him being a little bigger than he actually is for some reason, even though this is basically how big he was in the game compared to the other characters. But for some reason I just pictured him being a little bigger. I know he becomes all the other forms, like Total Chaos and Absolute Chaos and all that stuff. Each time he gets a Chaos Emerald, he like evolves into like a bigger form, but he turns like giant jellyfish monsters and crazy stuff. And I wasn't expecting to get toys of those, so I'm okay with this, but he's awesome. I do like him a lot, but he's not quite as cool as I was hoping he would be. He did also, though, come with the Master Emerald, which is pretty massive. It's like the biggest accessory anyone in the line has come with, so that's pretty cool. I have him, and I have Knuckles here, who I wanted for a while, because I didn't get him the first time he was around. I wasn't collecting the line yet, and he is my favorite of the main Sonic heroes. I have him and Chaos, fighting over the Master Emerald on my display over there. So that was a great setup. I wanted that, and I'm glad I was very quickly, once I decided I wanted that setup, I was very quickly able to make that setup, so that was awesome. But honestly, the surprise hit of the entire line for me, what turned out to be my favorite figure in the whole line, is Big the Cat. This figure, I don't hate Big the Cat like most people do. I do like him. I think he's a fun character. He's a good, change of pace for Sonic characters, and everyone's so radical and hip and fast and crazy. It's kind of cool to just have a lovable big oaf who's slow and just enjoys life. But he's not my favorite character by far. But there's just something about big, chunky figures that just always look cooler than smaller, skinnier figures. Like big, intimidating, hulking figures like this big guy over here. They just always look cooler than the other ones. So something about big. He's the biggest figure in the line. Omega and Vector are close, and Vector's probably my second favorite figure in the whole line after him. So I just like the big figures. But yeah, Big the Cat looks awesome. The colors are so bright. The white just is blinding on him. It's so well contrasted from the indigo fur that he has. I know most of it's separate pieces. There's not that much paint on him. It's mostly just cast plastic, just stuck together. But I'm fine with that. If it's gonna make the colors look better, I'm fine with that, and it does. My only real complaint is he just comes with a ring, and I understand that this guy is probably pushing the limit to how big and hulking they can make a figure, and still charge $10 for it. When he costs just as much as Tails, it's like, well, what the hell is the point what's the reasoning there? Because Tails is like a quarter of the size of this guy. But I do wish he came with Froggy, because that's kind of essential to have Froggy when you have Big the Cat. I don't know if someone else might come with Froggy later on, a smaller character, but I really was hoping he would come with Froggy. And if not that, at least I would have wanted him to come with a fishing pole, which again would have been pretty big, pretty tall. But, he either needs to be going fishing or he needs to be with Froggy. Really, he needs both, but it's fine. And, for what you're paying, that is a great figure, so I can't complain, really. So I've got some other stuff for Sonic. I picked up little things like Dark Chow and a MOTU bug and stuff, but that's really all I've gotten. That's really all that's come out. I haven't even really checked what's coming next, but I'll still keep picking up stuff for that line as we go on. But before we jump into MOTU, I also quickly want to mention I got the NECA Ultimates Alf figure. This is one, when I saw them show it off, I was like, I need to get this. And I love Alf. I don't love it ironically, I genuinely love it. I have great memories watching this show. When I was super little, me and my family, it was probably the first show me and my family would just sit together on the couch and watch whenever it came on each week. And I just love it. I think it's super funny. It still holds up. I still think it's funny as hell when I watch it now. It still makes me laugh. So I love Alf, and honestly this figure is really, really damn good. This looks exactly like him. It is absolutely perfect. All the detail on the fur and stuff is just insane. The paint deco is insane. he comes with so many accessories that he should come with. He comes with Lucky, you know, the cat, like on the sub roll, like in one episode he puts him in there. He comes with just some generic snacks like popcorn and soda and stuff, because, you know, he was always just eating all the Tanner's food. He also comes with, funny enough, a bag of slime balls that I wouldn't have even remembered what that reference was had I not I actually just happened to re-see the episode with the slime balls the day before I got that figure, where he's sitting at the table and he brings out a slime ball and puts on the plate, and everyone in the family's disgusted. And he thinks, you know, they're just mad because he didn't bring enough for everybody. He's like, I know, I didn't bring enough for everyone, but you're in luck today. And he pulls out the bag and he has one for everybody. So I wouldn't have even remembered what that reference was had I not just seen that episode again. And we get the ham radio that he has in the garage that he's always trying to contact, you know, other Melmacians from and stuff. And he gets sunglasses because, you know, anytime he was singing or whatever, he was usually rocking shades, and he just comes with a lot of essential stuff. It just shows a huge amount of love for this show, and I'm really glad that, you know, we got something that we got that big a love letter for Alf basically in 2023. It's a great figure. I can't think of anything I would have really changed about that figure or the accessories he comes with to, you know, better it. I think it's the perfect Alf figure. I don't really have any connection to the Alf cartoon, so I'm probably not going to get the Toon Alf figures that are coming out for Haulathon. But it is cool that this one, if you are a fan of the cartoon, does come with the, like, you know, Hawaiian shirt that he wore in the cartoon, just in case you want to put it on the sitcom Alf figure. Alright, so remember how in the last video I said I was probably done with MOTU Origins, and I had it up to here with that line, and I wasn't really probably going to collect it anymore because there's no new figures out and I just lost interest in it? Well, I was only kidding. I just got a ton of MOTU Origins in the past 2 months, so I guess I lied. First, I guess I'll start with the only vehicle that I picked up. I got the Roton, and it's cool to get the Roton because this is the only one of these vehicles, the vintage vehicles, that I still own a copy of. So I can actually compare it, and it's pretty awesome to see like a bright, shiny new Roton. Because the one I have looks like crap. It's all old and dusty, and, you know, all the stickers are peeling off. So it's really cool to see a fresh, shiny one. The only time I actually remember seeing this guy in the cartoon was in the She-Ra Christmas special. But I'm sure he had to have made another appearance or two, probably. I just don't remember. But it's pretty cool. We get the classic toy head, and then we get the more like modern design. I guess the more redesigned, almost Filmation, more accurate, I guess. We get a water pack on his back to squirt the water out of. So a little different than how the vintage action feature was done, I believe. But it's still awesome. It's a really cool figure. I think, you know, for a crazy idea like a mechanical elephant fireman, it's an awesome idea. It's an awesome toy. It's just one of those crazy zany figures that they made later in the He-Man line. Then we also have Leech. So I had seen Leech at Walmart before and I passed him up, but now he's been popping up in Walmarts again, and I have to say, so one of the things I was saying about MOTU Origins and why I wasn't buying them anymore was that the prices went way up. The standard figures, the regular figures, are $19 by me now. Actually, a little more than $19. But these deluxe figures are like 24 bucks or like 23 bucks. So you're getting so much more with these. They're barely any more than the regular ones. It used to be that these were like 20 and the regular ones were like 21, 22, and the regular ones were like $14. But now the regular ones are 19 and these are just like a couple dollars more. It's like, these don't really feel like that much of a ripoff anymore because you get so much more stuff. So honestly, when I buy these deluxe figures, I actually feel like it's money better spent than when I buy the regular figures. But speaking of that, I got a lot of regular figures. So first off, there's Mantenna, who Man, the toy design from Antenna has always just been freaking hideous. I have a friend named Tim. I remember when I was showing him the She-Ra cartoon, he saw Mantenna and he was like, what the hell is that design? That is the worst character design ever. And honestly, I don't think the cartoon one's that bad, but I can see where he's coming from because he's such a weird mishmash of stuff. But I told him, like, dude, you have no idea how bad that character can look until you've seen the action figure. This one is better because he actually has all 4 legs sculpted separately. Because the vintage figure, he just had regular legs, and they just kind of carved in lines to make it look like he had 4 legs, and it was so ugly. That vintage figure was really ugly. So, I'm very glad that they gave him at least the 4 different legs. He's still a crazy design. Still, like, his head is gigantic. He's just insane looking. He has like a leech mouth and stuff, or like a worm mouth and all this stuff. And he's just a crazy looking action figure, and he always has been. He still has the eyes you can pop out. Again, it works differently than how the vintage one did, but it's nice to see them retain some of the action features. One I was very surprised to find, because his line has been out of print for a while. I just found them at a random Target, was Web Store. Because Web Store was from a wave that I completely missed, actually, with the Lords of Power Beastman, the Green Goddess, Stinkor, and Web Store. And I remember seeing the other 3 at a mall one time, like a really high-end mall that still had a Toys R Us. And they were charging $20 a piece for them. Back then I was like, that's ridiculous, because they were still $14. But now they basically cost $20 anyway, so I kind of regret that I didn't get those that day, because I've never seen them in stores again since then. But somehow I found Web Store, and that was awesome. So I picked him up, and I'm happy to have him as part of my collection now. I still don't even have the vintage versions of Mantenna, Web Store, or Snout Spout yet. I had them as a kid, but I don't have them anymore, so it's kind of cool to have the Origins ones, because that's the only copy of those characters that I own currently. But speaking of someone not only did I never own, but I didn't even know existed when I was a kid, I got Sunman, the supposed greatest hero of them all. I think He-Man will have something to say about that, but... So this was like a competitor to He-Man back in the day. And it was supposedly, from what I've heard, it was based off of the creator's son. She wanted it to look like her son, which is why he kind of has like a child's head on a beefcake body. It's pretty weird looking, honestly. Like, he looks kind of like Gary Coleman on the head, but then on the body, he's like Mr. T. So, it's pretty weird. But I've heard that that's supposedly why he's called Sun Man, because even though it's spelled like the sun, it's like her son, so if that's true, that's adorable. But yeah, I didn't know anything about this as a kid. I only learned about Sun Man maybe like 4 years ago, I think. But yeah, it's kind of cool they're doing this. I think they're going a bit too deep on the Sun Man characters now. They're doing like every single character from Sun Man. And a lot of the characters from Sunman are very redundant, so they use a lot of the same parts. So that's a bit of a bummer. I don't know if I'm going to get all the Sunman figures, but definitely Sunman, and definitely Pighead, his villain, like his Skeletor, because this guy is insane. This guy is just tons of fun. His colors are crazy, his design is crazy, his concept is crazy. He is an awesome figure. There's a 3-pack with... what is it? Sunman with like a high top fade, Pighead with like slightly pearlized, like metallic paint, and then some guy called like Space Sumo or some crap who's like a ninja. And I don't know if I'm gonna get it because it's a pretty pricey 3-pack, but I at least got this Pighead because this one's awesome. I need to have some version of Pighead, even though he has, no relevance to me. And then we also have 2003 era He-Man. Also, talking about Masters, I did pick up something vintage from Masters, something I haven't had in my possession since the 80s. Well, actually, arguably, I never had it in my possession because it was my brother's back then, because I was only like 1, 2, 3 years old back then. So, I got Castle Grayskull. I've been wanting Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain for a long time. I got Castle Grayskull basically complete. It's only missing 2 weapons for the weapons rack. Aside from that, it has all of them. It came with a ton of weapons in the weapons rack, but all the cardboard cutouts inside are in there. We got the flag, we got the turret on top and everything. I got it from an awesome place in Sayreville, New Jersey called Paul's Toy Room. It's an awesome place, a tiny little place, but he's got so much cool stuff in there. It's just a great place if you love classic vintage action figures. He's got so much stuff packed in there. He's got something for everybody, and he's just a cool dude. Paul's awesome. He's always down to just talk and chat, and he's a real cool dude. So if you're ever in Sayreville, New Jersey, and you like collecting toys, which you probably do because you're watching this channel, go check out Paul's Toy Room. It's awesome. I could have gotten 2003 era Skeletor just 2 days ago. I saw him in store, but I'm saving for Haulathon right now, so unfortunately I'm not going to be picking up anything that is not NECA TMNT for a while now. Real quick, I wanted to have more to say about it, but it would have just been me venting and angry and saying how NECA should be releasing their stuff gradually instead of just dumping it all at once. And me basically just saying, NECA, you jerk, I hate you. So I don't need to go too deep into that. But I've had a ton of trouble finding anything. The shelves are all marked for those figures, but they are empty. Luckily, just about 2 hours before I recorded this episode, Eric from the Party Wagon podcast was nice enough. Me and him agreed that if we find something the other can't during Haulathon, we'll pick it up for them and then we'll send them the money and they'll, ship it to us. So if I find something he can't, I'll buy it and ship it to him and vice versa. He was able to find everything, basically every single item that's gonna be in Haulathon for Turtles, he found in his Target. He picked up a bunch of it and he was nice enough to grab me Mona Lisa and Dirk Savage, because Mona Lisa's been my most wanted figure since like 2019 or 2020 or whatever. And the accessory kit, because I really wanted the accessory kit, and that's the one I'm afraid is going to sell out the fastest. I kind of feel that one's going to be the hardest one to find in the wild. I think everyone's going to kind of just buy it up. That seems to happen with all of the accessory sets, and this one's a lot more interesting, and it has baby turtles, so everybody wants the baby turtles. I mostly want Mac, but so I really wanted that one. I think Rex 1 is higher on my want list, but I wanted to get this one before Rex 1 because typically the Ultimate ones are very common. So I think Rex 1's going to be hanging around for a while, but Mona and the accessory kit were number 1 hands down. So thank you so much to Eric again for picking those up. What a lifesaver. Do all the liking and subscribing and the sharing and the bell stuff.